thank you so very much for being here to take out your time. Now I hand over the session to Mr. Sachin Kapoor. Thank you, sir.
Sir, can you give me screen sharing access, please?
Yes,
Post
sir.
control.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Now I can. Just give me a second. I should be on. Hey, first and foremost, I want to kind of thank everybody who is on this call at 6 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Sunday, as everybody says, is the time for yourself, for your family. And if you're on this call, I totally value each and every moment of your time. I hope that you will be able to take some value out of what I have put together to share with all of you. Some of my own personal stories I will share, and there would be a little bit of theory, but I hope it would be a good mixture of what you can retain and take away. I just wanted to, talk about this topic a little bit and why I've taken this topic. Building your personal brand. The reality is that from the day we are born to the day we die, if there's something we are doing consistently, right, as either as a newborn baby to our mother, right, as an adult parent to our kids, as a husband to our wife, as an employee to our employer, as an employer to employee, teacher to student, student to student, is we are constantly kind of selling ourselves. And that process of selling itself creates value for the society, for the ecosystem, and also helps individuals grow by themselves. And that growth that we are talking about, if we do it in a more structured fashion, we'll be able to, accelerate faster than the people who are not doing it in a structured fashion, which means professional success, which means success for the society which you belong to, which also means, therefore, a faster stage of or faster pace of evolution to happen. I'll just kind of move to the next slide. Hold on. Yeah. Clearly, rules of engagement. The admin would have muted everyone on audio, but just in case you feel your audio is on, please recheck and mute it throughout this call. It would be helpful, not only for you, but each and every attendee who's on the call at this point of time. Second is, I love to answer all the questions you have. Please use the chat option in Zoom to ask questions. Please do not turn on audio or video. If I can't answer your questions, I will share my contact details where you can ping me and ask questions. Everybody who's kind of attending this call. And yes, like, please don't annotate or use highlighter on the Zoom tools. It doesn't spoil the original presentation I have, but it spoils the view for everybody else. Just basic house rules, just wanted to make sure that we are on the same page as we start this session. This is very, very important. I think as a society and like as the world as a whole, we are going through unprecedented times, and there's some basics all of us need to maintain. Two of the most important things is, one is please maintain social distance and adhere to the guidelines that governments and health departments are sharing with you. The second one is, please uh, practice good sanitation, especially washing your hands regularly. You can reduce the chances of yourself or anybody close to you having any kind of infection which is associated with the coronavirus, or what is popularly now called COVID-19. Just a public service announcement. And a quick one, don't have a long resume or bio to share over here. Just wanted to share two things that are very clear to me, or very dear to me. The first one is, I believe the one thing that gives me a lot of happiness always is learning and learning more all the time. And there's no time for learning, there's no place for learning, there's no experience for learning, because every moment in life is learning. And uh, every time you learn, you become a better version of yourself. I just wanted to kind of share this with you as to what I believe in and what keeps me passionate and engaged at all points of time. The second thing I want to share is I really believe very passionately about improving the quality of life and improving quality of life of all of us as a society, the society that we live in, the country that we live in. And I feel all of us can take small steps to make sure we improve the quality of life, either in professional domain or in personal domain. Uh, if you want to follow what I do online, I've shared my LinkedIn and Twitter links with you. The LinkedIn link is Sachin Kapoor and the Twitter link is SACH_Kapoor. So what are we going to talk about today? I'll say we'll primarily cover 5 things and then we'll conclude with Q&A. I'll start with personal brand. What is a personal brand? Why is it important for you, especially for your career, just to adopt a professional approach? I know there is a huge diverse set of attendees on this session today. My primary audience for this session would be those students who want to pursue a career in law, might have given CLAT, and want to appear for various group discussions or personal interviews to find admissions in the appropriate colleges. And the second set is those students who are in the final year of graduation or post-graduation and are looking for either further career opportunities or looking for further education. So those are the primary 2 cohorts of attendees I'm going to look after as I explain a few perspectives. But that doesn't mean that it won't be applicable to others. Just wanted to make sure that everybody understands the spirit. We'll talk about what is the foundations of fundamental things each one of us can do in like very, very simple things to create our personal brand. I'll talk about the power of discipline, and that is where the content calendar comes in, and how it helps as you want to kind of grow in your profession and create like a brand for yourself. And last but not the least, I will talk a little bit about LinkedIn and how would you create a presence on social media, especially LinkedIn, with respect to further grow your network and the opportunities that you get. We'll conclude with the last 10 minutes with Q&A. I might go a little fast in some sections, but that doesn't mean I can't come back and answer any of the questions that you may have. Before I proceed further, just a quick status check with Salim sir. Sir, is my audio clear? Like, just wanted to kind of check on audio quality and everything. Perfect. Okay, cool. Let's just kind of move on, and I'm starting from basics over here. What makes a good brand? Like, what do we understand by a brand in the first place? And if you look at it, a brand is a promise. It's a promise from a company to a customer. A brand is also a promise from an employee to an employer, and vice versa. A brand is also a promise from an educational institute to its students. So a brand is a promise, and that's the way we need to kind of look at a brand. And when you yourself become a personal brand, right, there is the standard set of attributes that people who know about you will start to associate with you, which primarily means that there are certain attributes of that promise, certain properties of that promise that are most likely to be associated with you, whether you are a company, you are an education institute, you are an individual. And it also helps you differentiate from others. Like, for example, what is the difference between Apple and Samsung? What is the difference between Lloyd Law College and Symbiosis Institute of Law, right? What is the difference between Salim sir and Sachin, right? So that's really how a brand kind of helps you. And this is the point of time, I like to share a personal story with you as to how in my career or in my life, I understood the value of nurturing my personal brand. So I used to be pretty good in my studies and how I could understand management, and placements happened. IMT Ghaziabad usually has really great placements. The best of the brands kind of come and recruit students. I was amongst like the better students in my complete batch or class, and a lot of companies came. Over 5 or 6 days, they interviewed a lot of students. I got shortlisted many times for GD, for personal interview, but at the end of 5 days, I was one of the only 4 students who couldn't get a job. And the other 3 students who couldn't get a job, they had certain limitations, but the biggest surprise that was there was everybody was talking about, why hasn't Sachin got a job yet? And this is a point of time, one of my batchmates, a fellow student, sat me down and said, hey, when you go for your interview, what are you talking about? I said, I'm talking about what I know, what is it that I've studied. I try to kind of field study related questions, but the interviewer doesn't seem to be interested at all in terms of the answers that I'm giving. And he explained a very basic thing to me. He said, listen, when a company decides to come on campus, the company has already decided that all students of this institute are above a certain bar, because that is the brand of the institute. What they are now looking at is the properties that you have outside of your grades. Do they fit what they need? So if there is a company that is looking for sales professionals, do you have an ability to sell a good story? Can you convince others to part with their money? And if somebody is looking for technology or IT, because MBA in information technology was a huge rave at that point of time, Y2K was happening and so on and so forth. What they are looking at is, how do you understand the technology shifts that are happening? How do you associate your personal story with it? And when we went back and forth, I clearly understood where I was going wrong. I was not able to create a persona about myself earlier. I was not able, I in fact hadn't thought through what my story was. What is the story about me that I have to share? I was all about working hard, good grades, working hard, good grades. And that needs to happen, right? Please don't take me wrong. But the thing is, more than that needs to happen for when one needs to be successful. And that's really the time then that I realized that it is a lifelong effort to continue to invest in your story or your brand, personally as well as professionally. And like, just to give you an example, like these are the two largest footwear makers in the world, Nike and Adidas. And if you look at it, like if you do a blind test, 99.999, which is called five nines, folks are unable to find the difference between a Nike and Adidas, a Coke and a Pepsi, right? But if you ask buyer's preference, they are diehard Nike fans and they are diehard Adidas fans. They will go for that specific brand. And the reason they do it is because both of them have a specific persona. And if you think about it, they appeal to a very different category of people. They appeal to folks who play different kind of sports, who look for different kind of performance and different kind of durability. And that's really, how even products or services or people who are similar. Like think about two people passing out from the Lloyd Law College. Both have done their BA LLB. Both have come from the same school and got admitted to BA LLB at Lloyd. When they'll pass out, their resume may look the same, right? But how are they able to kind of present themselves as a different individual with different properties, with different attributes, with a different story to tell is going to kind of make the difference. I will just kind of take this 10 seconds to read the last line, which is, if you have your own brand, yes, what you can do is to shape your brand by the way you present yourself to others. And the most important part over here, which is not mentioned on this slide, but I will tell you, is the power of consistency. People will believe in your promise. We learned a few slides ago that a brand is a promise. People will believe in your promise only if you are. That applies to everything, right? If you take services from Jio or you take services from Airtel, for example, on the telecom network side, right? You believe in an Airtel because there's a consistent promise and there is a consistency of the level of service that they provide. And similarly, you have to think about yourself that there has to be consistency about how you come across to others. Now, the question is, why are we talking about it? And the reason we're talking about it is, like, life is a selection program. If you go back and ask your parents, right, they would have had to go through a process of getting you admitted to school. And that by itself is a process. It's not a selection process that you have to go through, but they have had to go through to get you admitted to a good school, right? And if you are applying via CLAT to a law college, it is also a selection process. There are experts who are sitting on the other side of the table trying to evaluate a lot of students who might have scored similar kind of marks in CLAT, similar kind of marks in plus 12, and then kind of thinking about, okay, how do I make the decision between A versus B? And that decision either being made by an employer, either being made by a college, or if you're just getting selected to a team or sports and so on and so forth, will depend on your brand. And you have to think about how you are differentiating yourself. What can they expect from you and how are you unique? And if you think about all of this, the one thing that comes across very, very strongly is the power of authenticity. When you start to share a story, right, the reason we believe in influencers, why do we believe in a Sachin Tendulkar when he endorses a brand, a Mahendra Singh Dhoni when he endorses a brand, a Richard Branson when he endorses a brand? The reason we believe is because they're real people sharing real stories. And what, as an individual, one needs to think about is, what is your story? So if you're sitting in the group discussion, in the interview panel, what you may want to kind of think about is, okay, what is the story I'm going to say? What makes me different? And therefore, what are the attributes that come together to make a good story? The first thing is, who are you? How would you identify or define yourself? Right? How would you identify or define yourself in terms of, hey, this is who I am, this is from where I come, this is the kind of education that I've got, you know, these are the things I'm interested in, and this is the value I can add, right? Who are you is a very, very important aspect of your story. The second part of the story is, what are the obstacles you have overcome? If you think about telling your own brand story, believe it or not, everybody is interested in figuring out, okay, do you have any real life experiences? And how those real life experiences have helped you overcome obstacles on the path, right? You may have kind of heard stories about, you know, folks cycling for 10 kilometers every morning and evening just to go to school. You might have heard about folks who defied the wishes of their parents and chose a different stream in their standard 11th and standard 12th, right? We might have also kind of talked about people with some learning disabilities, like focusing and succeeding. And you might have also heard about positive stories about passions, people being crazy about things, right? For example, I had this batchmate who came for MBA, but the only thing he was interested in was guns. And he could tell his story about how his passion for guns made him come for MBA because he wanted to go and join the largest gun manufacturing company eventually in his career. But the point over here is that what have you overcome always makes a nice story. And you should always have it as part of your story. The third part is everybody wants to know where you want to go. When you're driving a car, you have a destination in mind. When you are going for an opportunity, when you're sitting in front of someone who's there for campus placements and you want to get hired, they really want to know what is your ambition, what is your aspiration, because that will determine how much effort you will put to succeed, how dedicated you would be towards your job. And these things are really, really important. You might have noticed I put up two things when I put up my bio over there, which is lifelong learner and passionate about improving the quality of life, right? All of us have a mission inside ourselves, and it is important that we put it in as part of our story to share. And the last one, what makes you credible? If you have 10, 15, 20, 25 years of experience, your experience speaks for itself. That shows credibility. But if that's not there, how would you get credibility? Do your peer students vouch for you? Do your teachers vouch for you? Does your family vouch for you? Like, how do you kind of create that credibility is really, really important. And like, think about it as you start constructing your story. If you just answer these 4 questions and be ready with this answer, believe me, at your level, 8 out of 10 questions, when you are in a selection interview, either at a college level or at a employment level, 8 out of 10 times you'll be asked just one question, the starting question. Tell me something about yourself. And if you have a story ready over here, you will do better than everybody else who doesn't have a story, let alone if your story is strong, convincing or non-convincing. And if your story is authentic, you will really go all the way, because like as humans, we have intrinsic capability for our mind to perceive a truth or authenticity and genuine emotions as compared to something that is being shared for the sake of sharing. So like, just think about it and try to imbibe it next time. Take each other's help to kind of construct your story. Now, the question would come, hey, how it, right? I think you need to ask yourself a few questions in the first place. The first and the most important question is, what are you passionate about? Like, if you ask me what I am passionate about, I put it right up there for everybody to see. Depends on the kind of person you are. You may or may not want to kind of share that bit, but think about your passion, because unless you know what your passion is, you won't be able to kind of create the right kind of story. The second one is, what are you good at? And these are two very different things. Case in point is that you might be passionate about Hindi cinema and Bollywood, about Salman Khan movies, or about Tapsi Pannu or anybody else, right? You can be passionate about automobiles, but that doesn't mean you're good at it. Like, if you really ask me, outside of what I mentioned, one thing I'm passionate about is really cricket. But the moment I ask myself the second question, what am I good at? Like, I'm standing at the end of the queue, even if I want to kind of spend my entire day playing cricket. I have to get out something else that I'm good at, which I'm also passionate about. Think about the confluence of what you're passionate and what you're good at. And if you know that, I think a lot of answers will present itself, and you'll also be able to construct your story really, really well. We discussed credibility, so I'm going to skip this. And the last one is important. What are your own goals for your personal brand? How would people construct you, or how would people perceive your persona as a brand? If I have to kind of give you an example, and given the lockdown, I've been trying to spend a little bit of time watching this series called Friends. It's a pretty old series, around 18 or 20 years ago, and I'm sure most of us at some point of time would have kind of watched this American sitcom, which is set up in Midtown Manhattan. And if you look at personal brand goals, there's this character called Rachel who runs out of a wedding and figures out that her passion is fashion. She attends to tables as a waitress for 3 years before she gets a break at a smaller brand. And then she kind of moves to larger brands with higher positions and so on and so forth. And how did she make this happen? She made this happen because from day one, she was clear about what her personal brand was, which was absolutely this fashionista. And like all of the 6 characters, you can find similarities in the other characters. But the idea is define your brand goals. What's your brand goal? Is your brand goal with respect to knowledge, for example, right? Here's the person who has knowledge about this specific subject. If we need to kind of go and ask this person, we will get that answer. Or is your personal brand goal about ability? Like you put this person on the sports field, or you put this person in a speaking contest, in a moot court, and this person will kind of make the most convincing pitch that is possible. Is your brand goal fame? Or is your brand goal intellect? You can select which brand goal you want. And it totally depends on your passion and your abilities, what you're good at. When you've done all of this, just like keep these few points in mind, right? Your brand will include your skills, your school, your work experience, and if you have a little bit of job experience, what you've learned at that job, the people you know. We haven't touched upon this topic, but either in an offline or in a hyper-connected online world today, a lot of access to opportunity happens because the people you know. And it takes a lot of effort to build a network of mentors, a network of well-wishers, a network of friends whom you can leverage in different situations. And this is something that you need to start investing right from the day you step into a college. Don't leave it for too late, because you would always be one step behind someone who started a few years before you. I'll just skip the last one. Information is self-explanatory. Then is values. We spoke about credibility so much, but values is really which gives power to credibility. Your values determine your behavior, and that determines credibility. And the last one, I think personally, I have always found this one the most difficult to answer. Where do you want to be in the short term, mid term, and long term? 2, 10, or 30 years? And you can change these number of years. But what's really important to understand is, do you know where you want to go to? Honestly, as a student, I didn't. All I wanted out of campus was a job. All I wanted out of engineering was to do MBA. All I wanted out of school was to do engineering. And 18 or 19 years of experience after my MBA, if I look back, if there was one thing in my career I would like to go back and fix, it would be this. I did not set goals for myself. And to everyone who's listening to me right now, I will sincerely request that take time, write your goals. 1. 2, share those goals with others. Because if you won't share your goals with others, you will have no kind of pressure to achieve those goals. And the third is measure yourself as to how you're performing against those goals. Because if you won't measure, you would not come to know if you're moving towards it or not, or you would achieve it or not. When you've done all of this, and you've created your own brand, you have a story for yourself, you have set your targets and the level that you want to reach, where you want to reach over a period of time, right? You need to start telling your story. And this network graph primarily defines that you need to define a target audience. And that target audience is a set of people who you think can help you in achieving your goals. So if you're entering a college, who are the people who can help you achieve your goals? Think about it. I think the first set is your friends and your co-students in the class. What is your objective and who are the people who have similar objectives or who have complementary skills, who can help you out? That's your first degree network. Think about it, right? And you can then also leverage upon their network of those they know to kind of help you. The second would be your teachers and your professors. How do you kind of influence them with respect to what you want to learn, what you want to achieve? And the third is potential employers. The fourth can be, the various competitions that you participate in. If you have a goal, you would be clear what's the target audience that you want to influence with your personal brand. But the most important thing is you would know a long list of people you don't want to influence. And one of the things we find influencing very taxing because we try to influence everyone. Whereas the reality is, if we understand our goals, we would be very clear whom we want to influence and whom we don't want to influence. So think about it. Your brand, where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? And therefore, who can help you get there? Very, very simple things. Yeah, I just spoke about all of this, but if you have any questions, I'm kind of happy to answer. When you've done all of this, what's the next step? And the next step is you have to share all the knowledge, the wisdom, or the brand that you're trying to build with others, right? How do you do that? And there's this Hindi saying which says, "Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai." Or in English, you can say, "Content is king." The content inside you is king. But what you need to do is you need to take that content that's inside you, something that you're passionate about and something that you're good at, to put it out in a meaningful format that it can be consumed by others. And there can be multiple formats that are available in today's world. It can be a blog post. It can be a tweet. It can be a video. It can be a live blog. It can be a photo. It can be a story, depending on what you want to do. It can be elocution speak, it can be a debate. But the key thing is content. And believe me, creating content takes a lot of effort and time. If you'll talk to any of your teachers or your professors who come and take a lecture with you in the class, ask them how many hours they need to prepare to give you 1 hour lecture. My anticipation is 8 to 10 hours would lead to a 1 hour lecture, right? That's really how much effort. Think about when you have to speak, what's the ratio of time and effort spent in preparing versus delivering. But the good part is once you deliver it, once you can deliver it multiple times. The key over here is, in today's hyper-connected world, is to realize that you have to invest your own time and your own effort in creating your own content. The most important part over here is not the quality of content. The most important part over here is consistency. And if you consistently earmark a time that you are going to create content, you will figure out that you will go get better at it. And I'll share you this story. I had this instructor who got admitted to a really, really prestigious US school for PhD. And he called me up and said, hey, you work at LinkedIn. I'm going to US, and in US, everybody uses LinkedIn. What should I do to make sure that my impact is being felt? And this is the advice I gave him. I said, listen, you need to invest in creating content. And you can't create content every day. You have to find that time when you create your content. But think about a calendar. What you create in one day, how are you going to share for the rest of the month? What are the forums you are going to share? Like, are you going to participate in a debate competition if you are at college? Or if you are at a job or at work, right? Are there upcoming meetings that you want to kind of utilize it for? Or there's a job that you really want to kind of take. Do you want to share that content so that the people who would hire for positions like this come to know that you have knowledge and information and a passion and you're good at something like this? That is really, I'll say the rule book or the playbook for the working environment for today. It is about taking the content that you have and converting it into meaningful formats so that others can use. I'll just take a breather over here because this completes almost all I had to share from a branding or a personal branding perspective. What you can do in terms of understanding your personal brand and investing in your personal brand. The second section that I'm going to go into is more specific to LinkedIn. It is about how you can use or leverage LinkedIn with respect to creating your personal brand, right? I'm trying to kind of talk a little bit about my company. It's not my strongest suit, but I hope this is kind of useful to you and relevant as well. And we spoke about Nike and Adidas, right? They position themselves differently, even if they're creating the same product. But when you talk about social media, right, they're different positioning for different kind of products. There's a different positioning for Snapchat versus Instagram versus Pinterest versus WhatsApp versus Facebook. And you will use it for different purposes. Similarly, when you want to create a professional brand of yourself from your personal brand, right? We spoke a lot about your personal brand, about you. But if you want to kind of leverage that to create professional success out of it, one of the tools you are most likely to use in today's world is LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is all about how you put the same thing. So if you look at the last slide, we are all talking about the same thing, but you're talking about it in a different way. You put things up in a different way. For example, You will talk about the same passion you have. You'll talk about the same things that you're good at, but from a perspective of looking for a job in the right company, in the right organization. You will talk about the number of years of experience you have, the kind of skills you have, or the recommendations you have from people who are really an expert in that field. And that is what LinkedIn is all about. The vision of LinkedIn is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And how does that economic opportunity get created? Because A, people have skills, B, people have dreams, C, people know how to tell a story, and D, they look out for those opportunities in an open environment. Basics, I know they are like fresh 10+2 graduates over here who may be entering university for the first time. How do you kind of utilize LinkedIn? I think the first basic is you have to build a LinkedIn profile. You need to first create an account. You can do that by your email ID or phone number that you have. We'll talk a little bit about what's the difference between a profile versus a resume, especially for job seekers. We'll talk about the importance of photos and how you can kind of potentially edit your profile. Setting up an account is pretty simple. Just go to linkedin.com and you will find it self-explanatory. Now, the question that a lot of folks asked, especially people who want to enter the jobs domain, is, hey, I already have a resume. Why do I need a LinkedIn profile? Well, the answer is yes. A resume talks about everything you have. You might be able to tell a really, really good story via a resume as well. But the question is, a resume is available when you reach out to people. What if people are looking for you? What if an employer is looking for people with certain kind of passion, certain kind of skill sets, certain kind of experience? Would your resume come in handy then? The answer is no. And that is why you need to kind of create profile on platforms where recruiters, that is the HR people who are responsible for finding people whom the company can recruit, and hiring managers. There are two different roles. Hiring manager is the person who interviews and hires the person, and who's generally the reporting manager or the boss to which this position reports. And you want to make sure that when they're looking for people like you, you are available over there. The second one is, maybe there's more real estate. You can tell a lot about yourself. But the third part also is that it allows others to interact with you, to endorse you, to tell you the world that what are the skills you possess. They're able to share their recommendations of nice experiences they've had with you. Your teachers, your colleagues, your co-students, and so on and so forth. And therefore, to have like a really detailed profile is very, very important. And by the way, like, just think about it. How would a profile work? Why is a profile important? And this is something I'm trying to tell you behind the scenes. When a recruiter, an HR guy who has to recruit, say, 50 candidates, right? 50 law candidates, from which 5 would be selected, say, for example, comes to a portal. How would she or he shortlist? They will shortlist by searching. And how would that search happen? The first thing would be, I need law graduates, BA, LLB, or LLB as education. If you haven't put your education correctly, you're never going to feature, would you? The second filter most probably would be, okay, I want only the top 10 or the top 15 law college graduates. These are the law colleges I feel are the top law colleges. Let me choose graduates. So if you not put your college or your university, well, you lost an opportunity. The third thing they will kind of put is a Boolean search. And what is a Boolean search? It's simple keywords like you put in Google. So they say, okay, if you shut down this list, why don't you tell me, people from a law perspective who know a thing or two about human rights law, or who know a thing or two who are passionate about contract, or who have done projects about contracts, who posted papers on contract, and who have more than 2 endorsements. Now that will narrow the list down further. That is clearly what's happening behind the scenes. Now think about it. If you need to appeal to them, what do you need to do so that you are featured with the right opportunity? Think backwards. Now, I'm sure this is not a surprise because all of us use different social media, including Insta, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Facebook. Believe it or not, having a good professional photograph, you can get more than 20 times more profile views, which can be people who want to connect with you, which can also be people who want to hire you. Some basics about a photograph: use a background that's not distracting, right? A faded background is the best, or a clean white background, or a black background, or a dark gray background works best. Dress for the job that you want. If you're a lawyer and you want to practice, like, better put on your lawyer's dress, right? Like putting on a round neck t-shirt and smiling in front of the Qutub Minar isn't going to get you there. Because perceptions are made, a picture speaks 1,000 words. People haven't interacted with you yet. But if they look at the picture and they figure out that they will have a good conversation because there's someone who's pleasant to talk to, that will make a difference. That always makes a difference. And therefore, having a friendly expression is going to help a lot. It's your expressions that count. Your body language is important. And the last but not the least, we are operating into a virtual world, right? How would folks recognize you when they move from virtual to real? So make sure that your face is clearly visible and people would be able to identify you if they meet you or bump into you at any point of time. I'm not going to kind of spend too much time into it, but as I shared, right? How do people people search for other people? How do recruiters or look for potential candidates? Your education and certifications is important. Your skills is very important. Identify a skill and also take a skill assessment so that others know what level you are with respect to that skill. Any volunteering work that you've done, everybody looks for skills with people over and above their education. Those who can A, communicate effectively, even if you are in the first year of your first job, and B, who have volunteering experience, who can manage. You have, managed the college fest, you have managed the college social media, you have managed the college football team. These things count. All other things being equal, these things kind of count. Your ability to lead teams is evident out of it. Your ability to kind of go over and above your defined boundary of work is assessed out of it. Please make sure that you're able to share as much as possible in your profile. I touched upon like identifying the right people in your network to tell your brand story and connect it with A, where do you want to go? And therefore, how does your career look like in 2 years, 10 years, and 30 years? And I also kind of shared with you about starting to build a professional network. Well, the time is now. Online, how do you do it? very simple. Once you have a profile, make sure you share your correct email address. Generally the first network you will make is the people whom you already know. And that's really, really important. So if you put your phone number or email correctly, more often than not, the first set of recommendations you'll get on the people you want to connect with would come out of it. And then your second degree network activates. There's once again the secret sauce. If you get your first degree network right, your second degree network will activate. And second degree activation means that people whom you know other people. So if I have to kind of give an example, you connect with me, I know Salim sir. And you want advice from Salim sir, right? You meet Salim sir once, you are connected with Salim sir as well. And when I say meet once, I mean in the online world. While this works in the offline or the real world as well, just wanted to kind of share the importance of starting with people you know and not randomly kind of reaching across to people that you don't know. You have to be careful and conscious about how you build a network. Search for new connections. People, and there are two ways, right? One is you can connect directly. The other thing that you can do is you can look for people that you really want to kind of go after. For example, you want to kind of go after someone who's really practicing criminal law in a sessions court, or who's a constitutional lawyer or a AOR in the Supreme Court of India, right? First is you will follow them. You'll see the topics they are interested in. You may then want to share, the research or analysis or anything that you've created with them. And if you find any kind of response from their side, right, then you can kind of connect, and that would be a much deeper connection, something you can nurture, which is the last point. Which, like, when you think about your network, you have to think about network strategically and not in isolation of just creating a network. The last one, and this is the last slide that I have before we go into Q&A. Oh, we are already over time, but let me just finish this. Once you have the network, well, you can do a lot of things. You can ask for informational interviews, and I get anywhere between 10 to 15 requests every week for informational interviews. And let me kind of tell you this, that if you really want to kind of work for a tech company or a company or an internet domain today, right? Almost all of these companies, irrespective of the brand you can think of, from a Google or a Twitter or a LinkedIn or a Facebook, which are global companies, to a Flipkart, to a OYO, right? They expect you to know a lot about the company and the job even before you are taking an interview. Now, how do you do it? You do it by using people you know inside that company for informational interviews. You call them up and ask them exactly what's happening. What is the organization structure? What does the role specifically do? And if you know that, you will be able to associate it with your own story. And the moment you are able to drive a connection, right, you have a very strong value proposition as compared to others. That's really, how you would kind of think about it. And that's really what would be kind of appreciated as you go out to the professional world as a job seeker. And I think that is also kind of appreciated as you apply for multiple colleges to gain admission. You will like to kind of talk to alumni of that college to figure out, hey, how's the faculty, how are the facilities, what are the kind of placements, and so on and so forth. Like, what is the background of the group discussion panel or the personal interview panel, and how can you associate yourself or share information which is of interest to the right audience. That's all I had. Would like to revert to Q&A if there are any questions. Salim sir, back to you.
Anyone who want to ask question, kindly just raise your hand. Okay, Mr. Anurag, I'm unmuting you and you can ask the question. Mr. Anurag. Mr. Anurag Kumar. Okay, hold for a minute. Yes, please, Mr. Anurag.
Sachin, hi.
Hey, Anurag.
It's been a great time listening to you.
Anurag, we can't hear you well. Hey, Anurag, are you there? Do you mind typing your question in chat and I can possibly read it and then respond to it?
We are not able to listen to you properly, Mr. Anurag. Sorry for that. Kindly write in chat box.
I guess it will be a long question, sir. So writing in chat box will take much of time.
No, thing is that your voice is breaking too much.
In that case, I'll speak one-on-one with Sachin. No worries, sir. You can get another question if you want.
Please do. Please do.
Sure, sir. Sure. Right, Sachin, I'll get back to you.
Sure, okay.
All right, okay.
There is another Mr. Anurag. Kindly ask the question now.
Yeah. Hey, Sachin, this is the other Anurag. The first one couldn't talk, so I thought maybe I should ask you a question.
So go ahead.
So, on LinkedIn, there's a lot of guys who send connection requests. And, many times you get like 40, 50 a week. What I've normally started is if somebody randomly wants to connect and I don't know who that person is, I put in a one line, tell me why do you want to connect? What's your motivation? 99.9% don't even respond. So it's like there's a lot of people out there who just want to build connections.
I think, Anurag, we lost you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. I was saying that, sometimes, I mean, not almost very frequently, I get a lot of connections from people who want to connect. I don't know these people at all. And what I've now started is I send a one line, tell me why do you want to connect? Nobody responds, like 99.9% won't respond. So I'm getting a feeling, it actually cheeses me off. I want to have a connection with people who are meaningful, with whom I can engage. But you get so many random connections that I've now just sort of stopped doing it. So can't you do something to filter and make sure there's some relevance to people? I mean, people shouldn't just be able to reach out and say, connect.
Yeah, Anurag, and thanks for kind of highlighting this. So I think the 80-20 rule applies over here, which means there are 20% of profiles where 80% of connections go after. And like, first, my compliments, which means A, you have a great profile online, and B, you are professionally very, very successful. That's the reason you are receiving so many requests in the first place. The other challenge, I think, is also a bit cultural. I can share this much with you, like the request for connection, the number of connections being sought is the highest in India for LinkedIn globally on a per connection request basis. And the reason for that is, limited understanding that the rules that are there in the real world to a certain extent also apply in the virtual world, which is there's a difference between another social media platform where you can connect because you are creating a larger gallery of people who can see your holiday photos. Whereas on LinkedIn, you're connecting because you want some business or professional or learning value out of it. And you are doing absolutely the right thing, which is, hey, can you let me know what are you connecting me for? The other way to filter is, allow only those people to connect who have your email ID. So for example, this is what I have done. You can follow me if you want to. You can send me a message if you want to. But you can send me a connection request only if you have my email ID. And even when you send that, right, I absolutely do the same thing that you do, which is, hey, is there some way I can be of help to you? And if I get an answer, I'm happy to help, provided I have the time and the energy and I'm capable of helping. But, those are really the two most popular ways of filtering who can reach across to you if you are one of those profiles who gets a lot of connection requests.
There is a question from Mr. Anil Khurana.
Yeah.
Please. Khurana, please.
Yeah. Good evening, Sachin.
Hey, Anil. You're in Chandigarh, you're in Delhi.
I'm in Chandigarh and listening your session very seriously. And I feel wonderful session, which I've heard after so many years.
Thank
So
you.
good
Thanks so
job
much.
done for the youngster. Continuing to the Anurag question, like I also get a lot of requests to connect on my LinkedIn profile. Now there is a difference of which I feel. There's one where you want to connect and where you want to follow.
Yeah.
What I understand, most of the people want to follow me on my blogs, on my writing and all that. They doesn't want to connect me for the network purpose. So I think there has to be some difference between both of them. Either LinkedIn, because you can find out some solution to that. But everybody doesn't want to join you as a network, right? Like going one step forward, you are asking them why you want to join me like Anurag. That's the one way to find out. Another is because I find 90% people want to just follow me on my, sharing that knowledge or on sharing my experience. So that may be one solution. And one thing which I find in your session was very good. Like in India, we plan everything before the birth of the child. Correct? Even the child is not been born and you decided the name of the child. Before he start crawling and we started deciding his school and college and all that. So by the time we reach to 10th, the college has been decided, doctor, engineer, lawyer, a lot of planning. The Indians do a lot of future planning for the children. But my experience says once we get through a break, right? Break in the sense when you get a job or when you have started your business, your planning stops immediately. Your planning is only up to get a job or your planning is up to start the business. So wherever the young generation is lacking is planning after the career. Correct? Where you want to be after 5 years in the job, where you want to be after 10 years in the job, that planning is 100% rather missing in Indians. So branding is which you explain wonderful. And I appreciate your session from my heart. So this is which people have to learn, that what exactly they want to do after 5 years in career. Correct? Like people who join bank, their planning is up to get the job only. They work very hard to get a job. But once they join, there's a complete blank. That where you want to be after 5 years, where you want to be after 10 years, whether you want to reach to the top management or you want to specialize in credit. The youngster, the people must be listening to me also. That planning is required. That is a consistent, regular, you have to update. So, two things. One, on the LinkedIn front, you are the right person to decide on follower and the people who want to connect. And a small session, you can add this in your next session also. Career planning. Brand image with career planning. Don't stop at the time when you enter. Let it be till even after my retirement age is 3-4 months. Still I have a planning that I want to do so and so in 5 years. So people should have, youngsters should have that long planning. Not just up to 25. They started the career and they relax. Okay. So that relaxation part is somewhere missing and somewhere is pain. So once again, wonderful session. I appreciate from my heart. Wonderful. You covered a lot. I think it is going to help so many people, at least for the youngsters. So thank you so much. And keep doing such sessions.
Yeah. So Anil, a couple of points. One is the feature to limit people to either connect with you only if they know your email ID or just follow you by default. Like I've switched on, like people can just follow me or they can connect me if they know my email ID. But there are points of time when I just go to the default or I default to, hey, you can only follow me when even the number of connections kind of rise too much. Those features are available within your profile settings. You can go and set them, and you can change them whenever you want. That's one.
I was not aware of. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, the second one, you raised a very good point. And while I spoke about 2 years, 10 years, and the 30-year kind of plan where you want to get to, I agree that career conversations by itself and creating a career plan is a very interesting thing. I can share a few templates with everybody who's interested, which is like a 3-pager where it will fundamentally start with how do you identify yourself? What are your core values? It will ask you then, where do you want to be next year? Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? And where do you want to be long term? Who are the people who you need to influence? Like the stuff that I talked about, I have a checklist or a template that if you fill up means, and like I was really bad. It took me 3 months to fill it up, to revise it and to get it in a decent shape, because I found myself very, very difficult to answer those questions. But I'm happy to share it with anybody who kind of pings me for those templates, because it is kind of super helpful to plan, but more importantly is unless you make a plan public, there won't be any pressure on you to execute and see, like you need to compare with if you are progressing in that direction or not, as a kind of shared as well. Another public service announcement, I have shared of 3 or 4 PDFs, especially for students who like to kind of have some tips on just either if you already have a LinkedIn profile to enhance your LinkedIn profile, or if you want to create one. I've just given you 3 or 4 flyers that you can kind of use very effectively. So please feel free to kind of download them. They are all available in the chat window. Here, Anurag Kumar. Yes, very happy to kind of take your question here. Can you try speaking again?
Yeah, Sachin, if you could hear me.
This is better. I can hear
you.
you.
Sachin, so my question is like in LinkedIn, we are very much aware about it is a kind of platform wherein the headhunting is between the employee and the employer and vice versa, and network related stuffs. So my question is in specific to, for example, suppose there is an entrepreneur or in maybe there is a litigator who is doing his own litigations. How LinkedIn is going to affect an entrepreneur, or per se how an entrepreneur can establish his brand in the market from LinkedIn's perspective?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, Anurag. And if you really look at it, outside of the hiring marketplace, there's another marketplace that runs on LinkedIn, which is the products and services marketplace. It's predominantly a B2B services marketplace. So if you go under your profile section, you can actually add what are the services you can provide. And if fellow businessmen or people who need to kind of research vendors, you would be visible to them if you have added that information, or you've created a business page on either products or services that you provide. So you can do it with your own profile. You can also do it by creating a product or a business page onto LinkedIn. But the difference is most people are there for hiring, and there is like a certain section of people or a certain percentage only who are there either to look for vendors or who are there to look for people to do partnerships and alliances for. And of course, there's a large section of people who want to kind of sell their services, their B2B services online. And all of them kind of utilize these features.
Any other question from any other person? Okay. So we are in the concluding of this session for today. Thank you so much, everyone who has participated and being here on the Sunday evening. I'm so thankful to Mr. Sachin Kapoor for taking out time and discussing such an important aspect, because this is something which we cannot get from better from any other person than the person who is in front of us. And this is something which is more valuable in the time and in the time to come. And this is the time when we all those people who are present here can focus on editing their profiles well on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for such a nice session, for valuing our time more and more in such a situation. So just a word to everyone: kindly be at your home, be safe, take all precautions, and follow the rules and administrative orders. So everyone, thank you so much. Have a good time, and good night. Thank you so much. Sachin sir, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'm
Thanks, everyone.
ending the
Bye-bye.
session now. Thank you, sir. Say goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Take care.
He was about to make a new laptop. So what is the laptop you were talking about? Just explain to Sachin sir. A laptop? 2%.
I will take 2 laptops of any of company. Then I will mix it. Then 2% can work in one laptop.
Okay. So how will you make it possible? How will you work? How will you do it?
I will just do some experiment. Then I will mix it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Say thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's a brilliant idea. If 2 people can work together, like there's nothing better than this, right? You will figure it out. If you really want to do it, one day you will figure it. And like, my best wishes.
We
on this.
appreciate your work. Say thank you.
Right, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.